and giving us the news. Will, what do you got?
Absolutely. Thank you, Shriggs. Appreciate that. Well, several talent evaluators descending upon Norman, Oklahoma for Oklahoma's Pro Day. And according to the Norman News, 55 scouts from 30 teams were in attendance. The main attractions, of course, wide receiver C.D. Lamb and quarterback Jalen Hurts. Now, Lamb proving the ooh and ah moment of the NFL Scouting Combine in Indy was no small thing. He did not disappoint in showcasing his talent on Wednesday. He's one of Daniel Jeremiah's top 10 overall prospects. An intriguing landing spot for Lamb would be in Arizona. The Cardinals pick 8th overall. Our James Palmer caught up with Lamb and talked about the possibility of reuniting with Kyler Murray in the desert.
I was standing on the sideline over here next to the rookie offensive player of the year in Kyler Murray, who giving you little pointers there while in between your routes, and he's been real open about how badly he wants you to join the Arizona Cardinals. Can you talk about your guys' relationship a little bit, and kind of were those pointers helping you out in this final workout at your old school?
Yeah, I like that. I love constructive criticism, especially coming from a guy like that, quarterback, offensive rookie of the year, as you said, and me and his relationship is unbreakable. Whether I get drafted to the Cardinals or not, but just kind of the bond we built here at this university, and it was a brotherhood, and we kind of went through all the grit. There's a lot that plays a part into it, but everything that he told me of going into to help me and critique on myself, I definitely listened and took it in.
We have Big Boomer Sooner in the desert. Meanwhile, as Lamb and company were doing their thing in Norman, Oklahoma, one of the top rated running backs in this year's draft was showing off what he could do during Wisconsin's Pro Day in Madison, Wisconsin. Our guy DJ has Jonathan Taylor as his 35th best prospect. NFL Network's Randy Moss was one of those in attendance and asked Taylor about his receiving skills.
So one of the things I wanted to do was just check the box, understanding that I was a natural pass catcher. I got a chance to display that a little bit this past season, but it was just for 1 year, so just wanted to make sure that I assured scouts, coaches, and everybody that I was a natural pass catcher, whether it was from the slot, empty, from the backfield.
And Taylor had 26 catches last season for 252 yards and 5 touchdowns. He wasn't much of a factor in the passing game in the previous 2 seasons at Wisconsin. Taylor running a 4.39 40 at the NFL Scouting Combine. So we're seeing some pretty big names yesterday showcasing their talents out there, Schrags. And it'll be interesting to see how a player like Jonathan Taylor will be evaluated, given the fact that he didn't catch the ball that much out of the backfield in college, but he'll be expected to do so at the next level.
Well, it's a great point. The three of us were just talking during the commercial, and Taylor comes from the same program as Melvin Gordon. That was the same knock on Melvin Gordon. Right. Didn't catch a ton of passes. Well, that's not the offense they run at Wisconsin. Right. They've got 5 NFL players on the offensive line. You run it up the gut. Right. Taylor did run for over 6,000 yards in college. I think that might help his factor,
Just
too.
Sprinkle that, those 6,000 yards. And, Will, thank you so much, as always, with the latest and greatest. Guys, we're going to shift a little bit because it's time to ask some of the NFL's toughest questions with a round of woulda, coulda, shoulda. I don't like to subscribe to this in my daily life, but for the purposes of this segment, it's great stuff. So let's start with here. The free agency frenzy officially begins next week. And there's some serious talent, of course, that could be available. So if you were a GM, would you rather spend $20 million on Amari Cooper or Jadeveon Clowney? Which way are we going here?
Of course, this depends on the team needs. But as much as I can appreciate a good wide receiver, I do feel like having a dominant pass rusher. And
is he that?
Clowney, I do feel like he's dominant. I mean, he's dealt with some injuries, and he's received knocks for not being an individual that goes hard all the time. I disagree with that. When I watch him on film, he is a Destructicon. And you know what else he doesn't get credit for? He's a beast in the run game as well. It's not just when he gets to the quarterback and shows his athletic ability. So I'm going to go with Jadeveon Clowney. I know people at home are saying, Nate, you're a wide receiver. You're supposed to stick up for the wide receivers. Amari Cooper is good. He's going to remain good. He will get paid top dollar, and he's been putting up 1,000 yards in every single system he's been in. But having a guy like Jadeveon, I'm talking an absolute freak, can change your defense.
I'm with you. And it's not so much about Jadeveon. It's more about, I look at Mike Thomas, I look at Julio Jones, I look at DeAndre Hopkins, Odell Beckham even. That's your class of possible 20 million wide receivers. I don't know if Amari Cooper is the guy I'm going to break the bank and put the majority of my salary cap money into. Is he a very good receiver? Yes. Is he one of those elite top guys? I'm not so certain yet. So I would go with Clowney saying the position, defensive end, pass rusher, those guys don't come around in the draft every year. I look at the draft now. I see CeeDee Lamb. I see Jerry Jeudy. I see T. Higgins. I see Henry Ruggs. There are guys I can get and say, okay, eventually they could be better than Amari Cooper for what we've seen. Jadeveon Clowney is one of those guys that there might be one or two every few draft classes.
Yeah.
I would invest in Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know if I'd give $20 million to either, though.
Well, it was my favorite quote of last year was from John Gruden early in the season, who said, pass rushers are very hard to find. With that being said, I do think Jadeveon Clowney is one of those special pass rushers out there. But the injuries really stick out to me when I think about who I'm going to pay in this scenario specifically. On top of that, I don't think you're looking at how much you're going to pay him in the context of he's a 15 to 20 sack guy, which truly he's not. He hasn't had a season with double-digit sacks. So when I look at Amari Cooper, he's had 1,000-yard seasons with 3 different coaches. The common denominator there, that boy good.
Yeah, that
he's
boy
a good receiver. He's young,
consistent,
not very consistent, and I don't think he's reached his peak potential yet. I think there's still more room for him to grow. So in this scenario here, Amari Cooper to me is not the safer bet, but I think the better investment if I'm going $20 million and in either of these spots.
And to your point, MJ, if you are a team like the Patriots and you're looking at the wide receiver list, you know, if AJ Green's franchised and Amari's not, and you're like, well, gosh, I got to make Tom Brady happy. Do I just give Amari Cooper $20 million? Say, look, we got Amari Cooper. Like, that might work in his favor, where he's so head and shoulders above other free agent wide receivers. It's not a great wide receiver free agent class. That one team trying to make a splash and trying to attract a potential quarterback named Tom Brady might say, well, we got Amari Cooper.
And speaking specifically on the Patriots, it's kind of like when they went after Stephon Gilmore. Everybody said, well, Stephon Gilmore's good, but is he that good? He was great for the system. And doesn't their personalities match? Stephon Gilmore and the way that Amari Cooper approaches, very soft-spoken.
Yes.
It's not about them.
And who do you
Team
think
over
coached
everything.
Amari Cooper in college? Nick Saban, who's one of Belichick's closest guys. It does make a lot of sense.
Well, the Oklahoma Pro Day took place yesterday, and scouts and GMs around the league got another look at quarterback Jalen Hurts. There's been plenty of hype since the Combine for the Heisman finalist, and yet most of the top analysts, including our own Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah, don't have him being selected on day one. So could Hurts get drafted in the first round next month in Vegas?
I believe so. You know, I've been really high on Hurts for the simple fact that he put up these crazy numbers that he doesn't get respect for. We're talking pass, but also the legs. And if you look at the success of the last couple of quarterbacks that have really wowed us, Patrick Mahomes, he has a great arm, but it's his legs that make him very special because he gets outside the pocket and he can make any throw on the field. But then Lamar Jackson, going into his second year, he was so dominant with his legs. You have a guy like Jalen Hurts who can run a 4.59, who showed that he can throw the ball anywhere in the right system. With the way that they're running these offenses nowadays with the RPOs, he can go out there and make an impact right now. And that's the reason why teams are saying, you know what, he might be a first-round guy. And we know, Shrey's, come draft day, they start looking at Jalen Hurts and what he did in college, Heisman finalist. You know what? We're going to draft him in the first round, and I believe they will.
I think he's your guy that's going to go. Come April, you start getting first-round buzz because of how well he interviews. Everyone at the Combine, if you watched that thing they did with Steve Mariucci, they went to the board, he had all of the confidence in the world and was able to do that with such ease. That's just a window into what Jalen Hurts brings. Teammates love him. Both coaches, Lincoln Riley and Nick Saban, speak the world of him. I think Jalen Hurts might get that love. It's not happening now because he's not necessarily one of these Combine freaks and he's not necessarily one of these guys that everyone talked about in the pre-draft process. But don't be shocked if it's one of those Teddy Bridgewater, Lamar Jackson deals where someone trades back in, end of the first round, and you see Jalen Hurts, his first-round pick.
I think that's a very likely scenario. Let's bring in Kyle because Kyle has some notes he wants to share on the Jalen Hurts conversation.
Yes, I have some notes right here, MJ. Thank you for bringing that up, and I'm so glad you did come to me because the answer, guys, is yes, he could go into the first round. Nate, I'll say it like you say it, 100%. Never in draft season ever underestimate the thirst for quarterbacks. I know that DJ and Bucky don't have him in his mock, and if you're at home, you're like, not according to my mock. Trust me, things changed. Go to the 2017 draft. That was the D-line draft and the pass rush draft, and everyone's oohing and ahhing. I've attacked McKinley. And there's a lot of media members, Peter, you and I remember in particular one who said, I don't like the quarterbacks in this draft. There aren't any there. Other than, I don't know, Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes. The quarterbacks get drafted. And I don't care where it is, what they've done. they sneak into the first round. When it comes to Jalen Hurts, especially when they played in every big game in the world, when they get Russell Wilson comparisons, when they interview well, like Peter said. Frankly, I'm in Chicago right now. There's a lot of fan chatter about him coming here. Now, that wouldn't be in the first round, but I'll tell you who has 2 first-round picks. It happens to be the same team in Las Vegas that had their GM, Mike Mayock, at Jalen Hurts' Pro Day workout. Apparently, they had a long, animated conversation. And here's what I'm interested in when it comes to this. MJ and Nate, do you remember yesterday when we were talking about a veteran backup going to Vegas and maybe backing up Derek Carr, maybe being... Do you remember P. Strag starting to twitch and look down at his phone and say, just saying, guys, I'm just saying the Raiders? He said just saying about 50 times and looked down at his phone and wanted the segment to end. The Spidey sense was going, the Straggy sense, and I have it going for Jalen Hurts to the Raiders. Remember, Cleveland Farrell last year they drafted, they are unapologetic about who they take. If they want Jalen Hurts at 19, they will take him and not care. That's my pick.
Well said.
It's good.
It's good stuff.
It's good.
I like when he starts talking about backing up in Chicago, he starts whispering.
Yeah.
I'm in Chicago right now.
Yeah. As if Mitchell Trubisky.
All right, don't you guys go anywhere. We have more football talk for you. Now, just how good can Jerry Jeudy be in the league? I'm going to break it down. We got a Burrow lesson, and I'm going to show you what makes him special in a way that only I can. Okay, but there are plenty of eligible suitors for Teddy Bridgewater. I feel like he is one of the best free agent quarterbacks to hit the market in quite some time. Will you swipe right or left on him in free agency dating? Coming up next.
Sunday, free agency frenzy begins.
Is in for the touchdown.
And NFL Network is there, reporting on live breaking